If you want to publish a game on PC, there's only one platform that really matters. A giant marketplace full of thousands of titles created by a studio that's released some of the best games ever made. A platform that is synonymous with PC gaming. I'm of course talking about the Epic Game Store. No, wait, hold on. Oh, Steam. It's Steam. Steam is the one-stop shop for everything related to PC gaming. From random little indie titles, to massive AAA games, to even their own hardware now. And it's been at the forefront of PC gaming since its release in 2002, when it was basically just a Counter-Strike network. And one of the main goals of indie developers is to actually release a game here. So that's why I started making IIGG, an incremental idle goblin game. I've had dozens of projects before this, some just to play around with an idea, some made just for content, and some, well most, were supposed to become finished products until they massively outgrew themselves, and I moved on to the next shiny idea. But it's time for me to finally get a game release under my belt. So how do you actually go about releasing a game on Steam? Well, it's actually pretty simple. The first step is to go to the Steamworks page and sign in with your usual Steam account. Fill in all the boring information, and for each game you list there's a $100 fee. This fee is to basically weed out the absolute fodder that could end up on Steam, but also guarantees that Valve makes a little bit of money off the game even if it doesn't sell. But if your game does sell, you recoup this amount once you get over the $1,000 revenue mark. I paid this fee, and now have a developer account, and can start setting up the Steam page for my incremental game IIGG. Do I think IIGG is going to do massive numbers? No, but I think the experience of just having my own game on Steam is worth it in the end. And the best part about having a Steam page set up already is that I can kindly ask all of you to go and wishlist the game right now by clicking the link in the description. I'm hoping the link actually exists by the time this video is out. I'm still waiting to have my account verified, so if it's not there, I guess come back later. Thanks! But jumping into IIGG now, let's take a look at what's actually changed in the game since you last saw it. The biggest issue from the first devlog was obviously the visuals. I had trees that looked like this, rocks that looked like that, this was supposed to be an ore vein, and I don't think these berries looked too enticing. The perspective was also all off. The camera was set up in such a bad way that it somehow made these shoddy designs look even worse. But now, with a bit of work from me and some lovely sprites provided by Knorapot, an actually talented artist, the game is looking a lot nicer. It's still not 100% done on the visuals. I need to play around with more particle effects, get the fog perfect, and add some post-processing to tie it all together, but it's a massive improvement from the previous version. If you want to see more of Knorapot's amazing work, check out Territory Control 2 on Steam, where she worked as the lead artist. Alongside the sprites for the resources, there's also now some proper icons to go along with them, for all of the UI elements that use them, like the resource counters at the top and the Goblin's Inspect card. This Inspect card, yes, still needs a lot of work. I'm chipping away slowly at the UI, but there's still a lot left to do. One thing that you may have noticed in the game, among all of the nice resources, is the weird shed thing. This is a temporary model in the game, but it's what's inside that's more important. To spice up the gameplay a little, and to add new ways to gain resources, I've planned out a minigame that's playable in each area, and allows you to wager resources for a nice payout. I won't reveal all of them today because I haven't actually got them in the game yet, and I want to keep some parts a surprise, but for the first one, I wanted to start out rather small, as a light introduction to the games, so I made a completely original game about finding bombs in a grid. All you have to do is click on the tiles to reveal what's underneath, and the more tiles you reveal, the higher your reward will be. However, if you're unlucky and discover a bomb, that multiplier takes a hit and you'll be left with a choice. Take your remaining resources and run, or risk it all to try and clear more tiles. That's up to you to decide. Alongside the bombs and blank tiles, there are a few extra pieces to help you out in the game. The first is an arrow, which points in the direction of the nearest bomb to help you identify their locations. But you've got to be careful, because someone left a bunch of dud bombs lying around as well, which do nothing when clicked, but the arrow doesn't know that. Along with the arrows, you can also find radars, which work in a similar way, except these tell you whether or not a bomb appears in a 5x5 grid around the radar, by flashing red when they're nearby and being blank when there's nothing. Once again, this will detect duds as well, so you may have to risk clicking on a square anyway. When you're happy with how much you'll get as a reward, or you've lost it all, you can end the game and get back to overseeing your goblins. I did find that you could just open the game, click a couple of tiles, take the reward, and then go again, as you've got a good chance to miss all of the mines early on, so I added a cooldown to all of the games so you can only open them every 2 minutes, just as a little balancing thing. This shouldn't really affect the overall gameplay, as the timer starts when you open the minigame, so I'd imagine some players may not even notice it at all. So that's the sweeper game. And like I said, I've got 4 games planned that will be in there, all based around different mechanics. Now I've just got to actually make them. During this time working on IIGG, I've been thinking about the overall shape of the core gameplay, and have been looking at all of the little details that make a game feel good. The little bits that individually don't seem like much, but when combined completely change the game. Things like little sounds, animations, effects, that kind of thing. Originally, when you clicked on a resource, it would do literally nothing, except update the number above it. And that just isn't good enough for the game. It needs that juice, that pop, to really emphasize what you've done. It's all about player feedback. So I started with a bit of animation, made some weird noises into my microphone, and played around with some particles. And voila, a nice crispy click effect. Another task done. On to the next. One thing that literally every game needs, assuming it has text, is a font. And the default Text Mesh Pro font just wasn't going to cut it here. I knew I needed something simple to match the pixel art style, and I do have a few of these fonts already from previous projects, including one I drew up myself.
Derivative.
But I wasn't happy with any of them. So I went searching on itch.io and Dafont for some good ones, and I came across this font here, Thalia Fat by Rick Hopman. It's clean, simple, and most importantly, free for commercial use. So I downloaded the font, chucked it into Unity, and could have called it a day there. Except there are a few things that I had to fix first. While this is a great font with all the usual characters, I plan on adding more than just the English language. I live in Germany, so why not release the game in German as well? And for those that can Deutsch sprechen, I'll need a few more letters in the alphabet, being A, O, and U with an umlaut, and the SZS. So to do all this, I had to unpack the font, and while there's loads of online converters that do this, I couldn't find any that would actually get a pixel perfect result. It was always scaled wrong or blurry. So I did the easiest thing I could think of. I went into paint.net, set the font size, and simply typed out every character. That gave me the basis for the font, and then just laid it out in a nice grid, and drew the extra characters. Using this tool I found, called Pixel Font Converter on itch, I created the TTF file after a lot of trial and error, and got it into Unity. I now had a pixel perfect font that could support multiple languages and look really nice. And if I end up adding some more languages that have different letters, I can just add to this file very easily. And for even more customization, I created a second version that's a drop shadow and linked that to the main font as its bold style, so I can easily toggle the drop shadow on and off. To actually get this to work in Unity, I had to create the font, unpack the atlas, open the PNG, and drag in every single letter into the correct position on the atlas so that it has the 2-color style, and then import that new atlas back into the font. But it was worth it because I can now type like this, toggle the bold, and it all looks great. Fonts are literally one of the last things you think about when playing a game, but matching them to the style of the game and making them easy to read is extremely important, so I'm glad I took the time to sort it, even if it was a bit of a pain. So that's just a small summary of what I've been working on up until this point. Let's give it a test run. I've got a build of the game here and everything should be good to go. I've got this basic menu in place where I've set up a bunch of cameras to just switch between, and some very obvious placeholder buttons to play, change language, and quit. Currently the settings just toggles the language, but let's just get into the game. The camera fades and a little goblin pops up before fading back into the actual gameplay. So you start out in the first area with a few trees, some being finite with a few infinite ones as well. Your base in the middle, and of course the weird shed. In the current version, the shed is unlocked from the beginning, but I think I'll add it to an upgrade later down the line. To begin with, you can just start clicking on trees and collecting some wood. With this wood, you can then buy your first goblins. Again, this isn't balanced or set up properly yet, but just go with it. The first goblins come out and immediately start looking for trees to harvest. Then walk over to the tree, start interacting, and you can see the bar over their heads fill up. Gather some wood, and once they're full, they'll return it to the base. Once you've gathered enough resources, you can start to look at the upgrade tree. This is all sped up for recording purposes, but in here, you can improve the goblin stats like movement speed and harvest rate, the tree's stats like size and growth timer, and your own stats, including your clicks harvest rate and the amount of goblins you can have at one time. If you're familiar with incremental games, this progression will be pretty straightforward to you, but one thing I wanted to ensure I did right was how effective upgrades actually are. There are a lot of incremental games that have thousands of upgrades that are simply just time sinks, and don't offer anything new or interesting, so I wanted to keep the tree very simple, straightforward, and not too grindy. I still need to balance this skill tree, and I think I'm going to change how the clicking interaction works, because at the moment the goblins are pretty pointless when you can just click and harvest a lot faster than they can. I also need to buff the goblins because these guys absolutely suck, But that'll all come a bit later in a big balancing update I do once the core functionality of the game is in place. I've now harvested enough resources, progressed to the first milestone upgrade, and the world has now expanded, opening up the second stage, which introduces berry bushes. Nothing in the game uses these yet, or the rocks and ore, but it will. I'll leave the goblins to just harvest away. For now, I'm happy with how the development is going. I'm working on stuff every single day, so by the next devlog, a lot of the stuff in this video will probably be completely outdated, but that's just perfect. And that's going to do it for today. I hope you're enjoying the devlogs. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the game. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to enter subscriber wars. Here we go. My subscribers are battling it out in the arena. If you want to see yourself competing in one of these battles, all you have to do is subscribe, and if you want to really stand out with the exclusive VIP name border, consider becoming a member here on YouTube or over on my Patreon page, just like Steve Nelson here and Simon Dan. Thank you for your support, much appreciated. Another benefit for those members, both past and present, will be receiving Steam keys for IIGG as well as any future release, as long as you've had an active membership within the past 6 months. This battle is coming to a close, and there we go. Tim Ninstein, not sure, is the winner. A VIP in the arena. How convenient. But anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out the Steam page for IIGG and add it to your wishlist. I'll try to get another devlog out soon with some more progress. Go and try my Lego Loco remake as well. That's still a thing. They'll be getting a final update at some point, but it's still very playable as is. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.